He served one term in Congress as a Tea Party activist, supported Donald Trump in 2016, and then challenged him for the Republican nomination. Joe Walsh, radio and podcast host, now says the president is an unfit authoritarian con man. He's also the author of F Silence, calling Trump out for the cultish, moronic, authoritarian con man he is. Joe joins us from Chicago. Joe, your book was published before, it was published in February, before the COVID-19 pandemic, before the killing of George Floyd. You called Trump a moronic, cultish, authoritarian con man. Other than that, you ran against him. Did you think it would be this bad?
No, I didn't, Larry. And you make a good point. I wrote that book before the virus and before the killing, obviously, of George Floyd. And in that book, I said that Trump is unfit to be president. And I said he's unfit because he can't tell the truth and he's incapable of putting the country's interests before his own. We're really seeing that play out this year, obviously.
How do you rate his handling of the virus?
I mean, I wish I could say what I really want to say. It's been crappy, lousy. Larry, I mean, what other president, any other president in the world would have lied to us about a virus that's killing the American people? I mean, think about that. For 2.5 months, he didn't prepare. He ignored the intelligence. He downplayed it and he lied about it to the American people. That's all on him because, Larry, he didn't give a damn. All he cares about is himself.
His handling of the U.S. military brass over the handling of nation. What did you make of that walk around Lafayette Park and the Bible?
It goes, Larry, it goes to my book. He's a wannabe authoritarian. He's a wannabe military dictator. So look what he did. He ordered the military to tear gas peaceful protesters so he could take a picture of with a Bible he's never read in front of a church he's never been to. He wants to be a dictator, Larry. Everything about him is that way. He likes dictators. He doesn't like democracy, and he doesn't like the republic that we have.
Why do so many people support him?
Well, they don't. And let's be honest. I've always said this. I primaried him. And Larry, I realized after about a month that, look, the Republican Party's a cult. These followers of his, it's weird, Larry. Trump doesn't have supporters. He has followers. But it is a minority of the American people. I think 30 to 35% of the American people will support him no matter what. But right now, if the election is this week, Joe Biden kills him.
Yeah, how did he get elected?
You know, he got elected because three reasons. The Republican Party was asleep at the wheel. The party establishment ignored their base voters. Their base voters were screaming to be heard. And the party establishment ignored them, Larry, creating an opening for a demagogue, a con man. So along comes Trump, and he said, I hear you. I'll build the wall. I'll make Mexico pay for it. And even though it was a bunch of bull, he listened to them, and the rest of the Republican Party didn't. And then he ran against Hillary Clinton, who was the poster child for the status quo.
You're a Republican, right?
I left the Republican Party about 2 months ago because it's just not my Republican Party.
Well, the Republican Party is Trump, right? There is no party.
It is the Trump cult, Larry. It's not a party. You're right about that. And it's all about Trump. It is a party full of people who would rather wash Donald Trump's feet than spread ideas.
You initially supported him, right? 2016.
Yeah, I voted for him in 2016. Again, not because he wasn't Hillary, period. But I made a mistake, Larry, and I've been very honest about it. I did not pay enough attention to what a horrible human being he was. That's on me. I wish I'd paid more attention to him back then.
Are you now a Democrat?
No, I'm a man without a country. Look, I believe in freedom and limited government. In today's language, that makes me a conservative. So I disagree with the Democrats on a lot of the policy. But this Republican Party's not a party, so I don't have a party. I'm doing everything I can, Larry, to help get Joe Biden elected and to help get Democrats elected. Because I think, Larry, that these Republicans who have enabled Trump, they're every bit as bad as Trump is.
Yes, obviously you're supporting Biden. Who would you like him to pick as a vice presidential nominee?
I think the two candidates that would most excite everybody really would be Kamala Harris and or Elizabeth Warren. I know there's pressure on Mr. Biden to pick an African American woman, and I understand that. But I think Elizabeth Warren would be a great pick too because she would excite. She would look. I'm working my ass off for Joe Biden, not because he excites me, because Donald Trump is an existential threat. I think Joe Biden needs somebody with him who will excite people.
Okay, we've got a book coming out, The Room Where It Happened, written by his former national security advisor. It's supposed to be scorching. What do you hear about it?
Well, my response, Larry, is, and again, I'll watch my language because I have too much respect for you. Screw John Bolton and screw John Bolton's book. And I hope this book never sees the light of day. John Bolton's country called him in January and February, and John Bolton didn't answer that call. He could have testified under oath as to what he knows. He knows how unfit Donald Trump is. He knows how many rules and laws Donald Trump broke. But John Bolton wouldn't testify because he wanted to sell this damn book. Screw the book.
Well, so you got two people completely misaligned. You rode the Tea Party wave. Are you still a Tea Partier?
Oh, yeah. But that, again, Larry, and it's fun. You and I have talked about this before. The Tea Party movement's long gone. I mean, it was all about the debt and the size of government. And once Trump became president and he increased the debt faster than Obama did, that's Larry, that's the damnedest thing because all of these Republicans who I know, like Ted Cruz and Jim Jordan, man, privately they can't stand Trump, but they don't publicly say anything about him. I don't recognize these guys anymore. We screamed about the debt when Obama was president. They don't say a thing about the debt with Trump as president. It's just wrong.
All right, we have two problems. He's facing two other problems: NASCAR and the NFL. Both walked away from him on the race issue. The NFL almost now saying it's okay to take a knee. And I would imagine at the opening game of the NFL season, they'll all take knees.
Yeah.
And NASCAR has done away with the Dixie flag. He has handled the race issue, even he would admit, poorly, has he not?
He sure has, Larry, and it's hurt him in the polls more than the pandemic has. When you look at the polling right now, Donald Trump's reaction to the killing of George Floyd, the fact that he's made us more divisive, the fact that he used the military, the fact that he says don't even touch our military bases that are named after Confederate soldiers. He's like, Larry, he's like a lonely old white guy sitting in his room somewhere in the White House, and history is just passing him by. Most Republicans, Larry, now support Black Lives Matter and support trying to unite the country over race. Donald Trump is all by himself. We're passing him by on these issues.
Why hasn't he offered some moral crusade about race? He sees what's happening in the country and around the world. Does he have no empathy?
Larry, I say in my book, I've never in my life seen a human being like this who is humanly incapable of empathy. You've known Trump a long time. Donald Trump is incapable of putting anyone or anything ahead of himself. All he cares about is himself. He doesn't give a damn about what's going on around the country right now at all. I mean, and so he's incapable of dealing with it. And you combine all of that, Larry, with he doesn't care and he's always had a racist bent to him. And I really don't think he's a very smart man. And so I just don't think he understands what's going on.
Okay, if he loses, what happens to the GOP?
I think the Republican Party's dead, no matter what. I think it's gone, Larry. I think the Republican Party is breaking up before our eyes. I think the party is going to be in the wilderness for a long, long time. Go back to where I started. Donald Trump won because he listened to 80% of the Republican voters out there. Now, it was a bunch of BS he fed them, but he listened to them. They are still with him. And so when Trump loses, they're not with these other never Trumpers. I think the party's breaking up, and I think it's going to be in the wilderness for a while, and hopefully a decent center right party eventually will replace it.
Newt Gingrich said for him to win, he can't beat Biden on personality. He can't beat him on stature. He'll have to run on a major radical party, run against Biden as a radical. Do you see that?
How pathetic has somebody like Newt become? Again, Newt ought to just retire and not say another word. Talk about a guy who has sold his soul to Trump. Newt Gingrich doesn't believe a word he says about Trump. But he's right, Larry. Donald Trump has nothing to run on. So he's going to play the old Nixon playbook of law and order. He's going to try to scare people. That's what they do on Fox News. Tucker Carlson and Hannity and Laura Ingraham. They do what Trump wants them to do, and they're trying to scare their voters into thinking that black people and rioters and looters are coming after them. I don't think fear is going to cut it, but that's all Trump has.
Joe, always great talking to you. Talk to you again before the election.
You're the best, Larry King. Thank you, my friend.